Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is exactly 9:29 a.m. A very big welcome to our Palakwani listeners on One Nation FM. Assalamu alaikum to you. Please do keep us company for the rest of the time till shortly after 10 South African time here on Salaamedia. We're now crossing over to Turkey and we'll be speaking with our reporter live on the ground there in Turkey. A very cold Turkey indeed. How she's managing, I have no idea. And that, of course, is Hasina Gori. Assalamu alaikum, Hasina. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum salam, and as you said, quite a cold morning here. We are in the eastern side of, or the eastern region of Anatolia, which is Matalia, and the numbers and the temperature has dropped to at least minus 10 in the evening. Now we're at like minus 4 right now. So we're driving from this area to another area that was devastated by the earthquake, which is Diyarbakir, also on the eastern region of the country. So what we've seen in our drives from yesterday, when we last spoke, we were in Hatay and we left the village and went back into the town. And what we saw there was streets upon streets of just devastation. Every time we thought that, okay, this was the worst we've seen, you saw even worse. It's communities that were just razed to the ground. And all that's left sometimes it's remnants, either forgotten photos, or what we saw in many homes were just washing still on the line. Like people were going to wake up that day and just, carry on life. And this happened. That was the scenes in Hatay. Search and rescue missions for most parts in most of the affected areas have stopped. It's now become rescue missions with really very little hope that there'll be any survivors. We saw many people, waiting, to just get at least even a body. One scene that we managed to get to, a body had just been brought up, and it's amazing to see the dignity with which the rescue teams use to ensure that those who are found even are still covered, they're not exposed. They're given such dignity in that time. We've come across a few funerals as we've driven through. It's quite a sad time to be in this country. Here in Matalia this morning, where we stopped, what we did get a sense of was the economic impact that this um, earthquake has had on the country. We know Turkey has already been suffering with inflation. The country and those locals living in here are already affected by that. But what we saw today was just a CBD area, a central business district, the main city area that was impacted. And it was quite, jarring to see high rises still standing, and then in between them, businesses that were crushed and streets that were just crushed. We came upon some families that were trying to get into their businesses now, just past 1 week, to salvage whatever goods that's left. I don't think people are picking up any pieces just yet or rebuilding just yet. I think they're just trying to pick up pieces. Some sites that we go to, you find kiss and bags, and anyone who has old people in their family know that's the memory box of their home. So it's filled with either tablecloths, beautiful laces, or musallas that we see now just left behind, with that devastation, unsure whether those people that those belongings are from are even alive and where they are. We came across also many Syrian refugees, Hatay province and the area that we're in Gaziantep as well, very close to the Syrian border. Some share railway borders, some physical borders, and this is the area where those that had, fled the instability and the political tension in their country had come and sought refuge. I met an old man last night in one of the towns that was the epicenter, and it was almost minus 3 degrees, and he was sitting outside, getting some warmth from a fire, and he said he had left Syria 2 years ago, to make a life here, and now he's displaced once again. So this is just the sense on the ground that we've been getting as we've moved through many of these epicenter areas. This is alongside the snow that's been falling. We haven't seen snowfall itself, but the mountains that we've been driving alongside have been snow capped. So the weather has been in the very low fives or in the negatives from the time we've been on the road, which is the last 2 days. Inshallah, we'll keep you coverage throughout the day as we move and find people that we can speak to, trying to get an understanding from them just on their emotion right now. It's quite hard actually to speak to some of them because it is a sensitive time. Many are just dealing with the pain, trying to find their loved ones, trying to keep warm, trying to, those that have jobs are still trying to, carry on with that. I know at the airport you'd find, many people just sitting on their laptops and trying to, do some kind of work, and also just trying to find a new space right now with the displacements. I know that a government has put into place some funds for those that have been affected in the Karam and Marash earthquakes. I think it's 1,000 or 10,000 lira that will be given to those that were affected, just to help them. I know that there was notices from government with regards to those that may want to cross the border with their vehicles, and that they will be allowed to. So I know there are free flights as well. So really, government's trying to assist aid organizations. You see multiple in every town that we've been to. There've been temporary shelters, food everywhere, because no one, whether you have the funds or the ability, there is no food to buy. There's no restaurants working. There's no groceries. There are very, very few petrol stations. We're at one right now. Most of them either would just have bathroom facilities open or very, very limited stock. So it's really hard for those that are trying, just to deal with these earthquakes that took place and the tremors that continue to rack. I think it was the numbers when I last checked was almost 3,000 tremors that had happened from last week Tuesday.
Hasina, my final question to you before I let you go, and that is, I see snow in the background, though you haven't seen snowfall. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we haven't seen
Okay,
snowfall, but there's snow on the mountaintops where we're
right.
at, and that
Okay,
brings a chill. But what we do know is that when the earthquake happened, it was snowing at that time, which
okay.
compounded all, the impact as well.
Okay, I spoke to the Turkish ambassador here in South Africa. I think it was on Monday, and of course, all news media is reporting that at least ten cities were flattened in the two earthquakes and the aftershocks. And they're talking about these cities were populated by approximately 10 million people. We don't know at this point. Well, the count sitting at the death toll is sitting somewhere around. Uh, Maybe close on to 50,000.
Yes.
That also means not the entire towns and cities were flattened, just certain sections of the city or the town was flattened. What about the rest of the residents of those areas? Are they trying to carry on as per normal? And are you seeing a huge exodus of people trying to get maybe to a more stable place like Istanbul and other such major cities?
So, as you mentioned, it's actually not even 10 cities, but 10 provinces that have been affected. The distance, from what I remember, was Paris to Amsterdam or Johannesburg to Durban, if I'm correct, which is the distance
Okay.
of the level of impact that took place. What we've seen is even though there are other buildings that may still stand, there's structural damages. We drove into Hatay yesterday, and from a first glance, it looked like it was fine. And as you looked closer, there were cracks in the building, there were windows that were broken. There were wall facades that were out. So government is really closing up, and the military have cordoned off those areas because should people go into those areas and there are other tremors, it could fall. Also, people are scared of that as well. That is a concern. So what I'm noticing is that many who have the means, because Hatay and Gaziantep, most of those city areas are middle class people. The villages would be your lower income. So those that have the means are leaving either to Antalya, Ankara, or to Istanbul. Others are, booking into hotels. Just trying to get a place to stay for the night is almost impossible. Last night we ended up back in, staying in our vehicle again because of that. And trying to get booking for tonight. Also, we're finding similar kind of situations. But those that are left behind are really the hardest hit, the poorest of the poor. They're staying in temporary shelters, they're staying in tents. AFTA has put up tents, or we know that certain governments have sent temporary shelter. That is what we're seeing right now. Even if people want to go into their buildings, it is completely, not recommended, unsafe. And what I saw in Matalia when we were driving through this morning was people had come out on the streets, just walking through, and felt that sense that they were just walking for the first time and taking in what had happened, and trying to understand what had happened. But it's ghost towns. The one area we were in last night, you could hear yourself echo when you spoke because it was just completely deserted.
Hasina Gori, thank you indeed for being with us once again on the show this morning, for bringing us that eyewitness news update. Alhamdulillah. Please keep safe, keep warm. Until tomorrow morning, as always, we will be hooking up with you. Assalamu
Assalamu
alaikum.
alaikum.
That's Hasina Gori, our Salaamedia reporter live from Turkey, bringing us a direct eyewitness news of the account that she's experiencing on the ground in Turkey post the two massive earthquakes. But there are still aftershocks that are happening, and she has truly described the situation as quite sad, quite devastating, and in a way quite horrific as well. We keep the Turkish and Syrian people in our du'as. Inshallah, Allah make it easy on them. And let us here in South Africa not forget to count our blessings, because we are so blessed, despite our political situation here, despite the corruption, despite the looting, despite everything else. We must not stop saying, Lak, lak, shukr, alhamdulillah. The time is exactly 9:40 a.m. News and views right here on Salaamedia.